C1C Jackson, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about The Right Thing to Do by Dale Ritterbush. So, can anyone tell me what was going on in 1942?
World War II.
World War II. Okay, more specifically, in Mazovch, Ukraine, they had Mazovch ghettos, and they had men and women of Jewish ethnicity held in these camps. What they would do in these camps are separate them from their families, mistreat them, and even more specifically, they would take all the women and the children out and dig these ditches and mass kill all of these women and children. And so in this story, we have a soldier who is standing and has a woman in front of him begging for her life, pleading. The author gives a description, her mouth wide open, her button undone, showing that she was willing to comply a little bit to let the soldier know that she wasn't going to do anything crazy, but still not willing to die without a fight. And so the author has the soldier contemplating in his head on whether it was the right thing to do to kill her. He talks about how it would seem right to let her go. He mentions that twice in the poem, and then in between the poem he's just contemplating on, if I let her go, what's going to happen. All of this is going through his mind, and finally he just stops thinking, and he tells her, you're free to go. She thanks him, and as she turns around and tries to go away, he shoots her in her back and kills her. So this is pretty graphic, and we can go ahead and change. I just wanted you to kind of see the pictures of it. A lot of people actually do not believe that things like this happened in 1942. So with the photos and all of the history, it's pretty clear that it definitely did happen. Next slide. So one of the aspects that Ritterbush wanted us to realize was the human aspect of it, from both the woman on the ground and the soldier. The woman, as I said, she pleaded, top button undone, throat open to the gray winds. Others huddled, covering in shame. She had no shame at that point. All she wanted was to live her life, and she was willing to set aside all pride and everything else to make sure that she could live. This also goes back to him thinking and contemplating his human side of it, seeing what was going on, noticing that she was a human, understanding that, hey, this might not be right. Seemed right to let this one, who in any other time might have been, and then he stopped himself from thinking. And then finally, whenever she did pass away, he talks about her whipping hair across her beautiful face. So he really wants to emphasize that both of them are human, and both of them are trying to do the right thing. Next slide. Another portion that Ritterbush wanted us to kind of notice was this. Emerson's quote was at the beginning of the poem, and wasn't in the poem. It was just at the very beginning, and it says, "Even the corpse has its own beauty." You want to go to the next one? 15 lines down, Ritterbush says, "In war, no corpse is beautiful." So if we can go back, just to give some background on Emerson's, what he talks about in this one is everything in nature is beautiful. So even if it's disgusting, even if it's probably smelly, even if it's not attractive, you can find the beauty in anything in nature. So for instance, childbirth. A lot of people might think that's gross, but in the end, the result is beautiful. And so with he's talking about in war, no corpse is beautiful. He talks about how if it were a natural death, because of age, because of organ failure, just because of the wear and tear of the body, then maybe it would have been beautiful. But because this was unnatural and they were innocent, they wouldn't consider this beautiful. This isn't natural. Next slide. So finally, it ties down to the right thing to do. With all this in consideration, the human factor of it, it's not natural for us to be killing them. Even after all of that, he shut his mind off to it and still shot her anyway. So can anyone really quickly tell me why he probably did that?
It was his job.
Because it was his job. And do you think that has a factor into doing the right thing?
Absolutely.
So that's something that Ritterbusch really wanted us to look into. The right thing to do at that moment in time might align with authority, what your group believes in, or it might align with morale and your standards. Thank you.